Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Anne Sinclair is a distinguished French-American journalist, television presenter, and author, widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in French media. Known for her intelligence, poise, and incisive interviewing style, she became a household name in France during the 1980s and 1990s as the host of 7 sur 7, one of the country's most respected political talk shows. Born Anne-Elise Schwartz on July 15, 1948, in New York City, she is the granddaughter of Paul Rosenberg, a legendary art dealer who represented Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. Her family fled Nazi-occupied France during World War II and later returned to Paris, where Sinclair grew up in a cultivated and intellectual environment. She studied at the prestigious Institut d'études politiques de Paris, Sciences Po, and later earned a degree in law. Sinclair began her media career in radio before moving to television in the 1970s. Her big breakthrough came in 1984 when she became the host of 7 sur 7 on TF1, a program that defined French current affairs television for over a decade. On the show, she conducted in-depth interviews with global leaders, thinkers, and artists, including Bill Clinton, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Madonna, earning admiration for her sharp questioning and balanced tone. Her work combined journalistic rigor with elegance, establishing her as a trusted voice in political and cultural commentary. After leaving 7 sur 7 in 1997, Sinclair took on executive roles in media and became involved in digital journalism. She served as the editorial director of the French edition of the Huffington Post from its launch in 2012. Helping bridge traditional journalism and the new online media era. Throughout her career, she has also published books exploring political, historical, and personal themes, often reflecting on her Jewish heritage and her family's extraordinary legacy in art and history. Sinclair's personal life has also drawn considerable public attention, particularly her marriage to Dominique Strauss-Kahn, the former head of the International Monetary Fund. The couple's relationship came under intense global scrutiny following Strauss-Kahn's 2011 legal scandal. But Sinclair's dignity and discretion throughout the ordeal reinforced her image as a woman of resilience and integrity. Today, Anne Sinclair is celebrated not only as a pioneering journalist but also as a symbol of modern French intellectualism, a woman who navigated the intersections of media, politics, and culture with grace and conviction. Her contributions to journalism and her reflections on art, history, and identity continue to influence public discourse in France and beyond. Anne Sinclair's life and career after her time at 7 sur 7 reflect a seamless blend of journalistic excellence, cultural engagement, and personal evolution. Following her departure from television in 1997, she transitioned from being a star interviewer to a behind-the-scenes figure in media, yet her influence on French journalism remained profound. In the early 2000s, Sinclair briefly stepped away from public life to support her then-husband Dominique Strauss-Kahn's political career. As he rose to prominence as a key figure in the French Socialist Party and later as managing director of the International Monetary Fund (IMF). During this period, she avoided the spotlight, focusing instead on writing and curating her family's remarkable art legacy. Her grandfather, Paul Rosenberg, had been one of the most important art dealers of the 20th century. And the family's story, marked by both cultural brilliance and the tragedy of Nazi art theft, deeply shaped Sinclair's worldview. In 2012, Anne Sinclair returned to journalism in a major way as the editorial director of Le Huffington Post, the French edition of the Huffington Post, launched in partnership with Le Monde. Her leadership helped the outlet become a vital platform for political analysis and cultural commentary in the French-speaking world. Sinclair championed a modern, accessible form of journalism that encouraged debate, embraced digital interactivity, and gave voice to diverse perspectives. Alongside her editorial work, Sinclair continued to write books that reveal her depth as both a journalist and historian. Her 2012 memoir, 21, Rue la Boétie, explores her grandfather's life and the moral and cultural complexities of art under Nazi occupation. The book was both a personal journey and a historical investigation, earning wide acclaim for its emotional honesty and scholarly rigor. Later works, including Chronique d'une France blessée and Passé composé, reflect her reflections on identity, memory, and France's political evolution. Despite her immense fame, Sinclair has always maintained an aura of discretion and dignity. She has spoken openly about the challenges of being in the public eye, especially during the 2011 Strauss-Kahn scandal, but she never allowed that episode to define her. Instead, she emerged as a figure of quiet resilience, focusing her energy on writing, journalism, and promoting art and culture. Today, Anne Sinclair is recognized as one of the great women of French media, an intellectual bridge between generations. Her career stands as a testament to journalistic integrity, emotional intelligence, and cultural sophistication. Beyond television and digital media, her enduring influence lies in her ability to combine history, art, and politics into a single, coherent narrative about what it means to be French, and what it means to remain true to one's principles in the face of public scrutiny. Anne Sinclair's legacy is deeply intertwined not only with journalism but also with art history and the preservation of cultural memory. Her family background, rooted in the artistic avant-garde of 20th-century Europe, has profoundly shaped her identity and her intellectual pursuits. Her grandfather, Paul Rosenberg, was among the most prominent art dealers in Paris before World War II, representing some of the greatest artists of the modern era, including Picasso, Matisse, Braque, and Leger. Rosenberg's Paris Gallery at 21, Rue la Boétie was a hub of modern art and culture. When the Nazis occupied France, his gallery and collection were seized, and many priceless works were looted. The family fled to New York, where Anne Sinclair was born in 1948. This history of exile and resilience became a central part of her later writings and self-understanding. In her acclaimed book 21, Rue la Boétie, 2012, Sinclair chronicled her grandfather's life, the plundering of his collection, and the broader cultural destruction wrought by the Nazi occupation. Through this deeply personal narrative, she also explored themes of identity, displacement, and moral courage. The book became both a family chronicle and a meditation on European conscience, offering insight into how art, history, and trauma intersect. It was later adapted into a successful exhibition at the Musée Maillol in Paris, curated with Sinclair's involvement, bringing her family's story to the public in a new and powerful way. Sinclair has since become a respected voice in discussions surrounding art restitution and the cultural legacy of the Holocaust. While she avoids politicizing her family's history, her writings and interviews often emphasize the importance of remembrance, truth, and justice in confronting Europe's past. Her eloquence on these subjects has earned her admiration as both a journalist and a moral voice in French public life. In addition to 21, Rue la Boétie, she has published several other significant works. Chronique d'une France blessée, 2017, offered sharp, thoughtful commentary on the fractures in contemporary French society, analyzing the rise of populism, nationalism, and the challenges facing modern democracy. In Passé Composé, 2021, Sinclair reflected on her own life, her career in media, her family heritage, and her perspective as a woman who lived at the crossroads of journalism, politics, and art. The memoir received praise for its candor and introspection, offering readers a portrait of a woman who has always preferred reflection to spectacle. Throughout her career, Sinclair has been honored with numerous awards for journalism and cultural contribution. She is admired not just for her professional achievements but for her integrity, her ability to maintain independence and dignity in a world often driven by scandal and sensationalism. Now in her late 70s, Anne Sinclair remains active in public life as a commentator and essayist. Her presence in French media continues to carry weight, not because of her celebrity, but because of the authority and authenticity she brings to every subject she addresses. She embodies the rare blend of intellectual rigor, cultural depth, and personal grace that defines the finest traditions of French journalism. Anne Sinclair's tenure as host of 7 sur 7 remains one of the most significant chapters in French television history and a defining moment in her career. The program, which aired from 1984 to 1997 on TF1, was not merely a talk show, it became a national institution, shaping political discourse and public perception in France for more than a decade. Sinclair's style on 7 sur 7 was both rigorous and humane. She was renowned for her sharp intellect, calm demeanor, and penetrating questions, which balanced firmness with fairness. Unlike many interviewers who pursued confrontation, Sinclair preferred dialogue rooted in respect and insight. This approach made even the most powerful guests open up to her in ways they rarely did elsewhere. Over the years, she interviewed a remarkable range of global figures: Bill Clinton, Margaret Thatcher, François Mitterrand, Mikhail Gorbachev, Shimon Peres, Madonna, Woody Allen, and Jacques Chirac, among many others. These interviews often went beyond political or promotional talking points. Sinclair's questions cut to the core of personal conviction, moral responsibility, and historical vision. Her exchanges with Mitterrand, for example, were marked by subtle tension. She held him accountable without losing her composure. Similarly, her interviews with international leaders gave French audiences a deeper view of world politics, making 7 sur 7 a window into global affairs during a transformative era: the end of the Cold War, the rise of globalization, and the dawn of the digital age. Under Sinclair's guidance, 7 sur 7 achieved an exceptional balance of serious journalism and mainstream accessibility. It became a Sunday ritual for millions of viewers who tuned in to see their leaders, artists, and thinkers subjected to Sinclair's articulate and composed questioning. Her influence was such that politicians considered an appearance on 7 sur 7 a critical moment in their careers. It was both an opportunity and a test of credibility. Her professionalism was widely admired, but equally remarkable was her ability to remain apolitical in a polarized media landscape. Although she came from a background steeped in intellectual liberalism, Sinclair never let ideology distort her journalism. Her fairness earned her the respect of figures across the political spectrum, from conservative leaders to socialists and centrists. When Sinclair decided to leave 7 sur 7 in 1997, she did so at the height of her popularity, citing a desire to move on before routine dulled her passion. Her departure marked the end of an era in French television. Many have since described her as the gold standard of French broadcast journalism, a benchmark few have matched. Even after stepping away from the screen, Sinclair's influence persisted. Younger generations of journalists, particularly women, have credited her with breaking barriers in a male-dominated field, proving that a woman could be both authoritative and empathetic on national television. She paved the way for the more analytical, personality-driven journalism that followed in France and beyond. In later years, Sinclair has reflected that her time on 7/7 taught her not only about power but also about human complexity. She once remarked that the most interesting part of an interview begins when the mask falls, encapsulating her lifelong pursuit of truth beneath appearances. Today, 7/7 is remembered as more than a show. It was a mirror of French society, and Anne Sinclair was its calm, discerning voice.
Bye bye, thanks for watching. Bye.